Guys, welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Bit of a special one tonight. I'm with Ben. We've got Ray joining us. How you doing, Ray?
I'm fine. I'm good. I'm really, really good. How are you two boys doing?
Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we'll get on to that sort of shocking night in Sheffield, but I've just got to give a little shout out to a partner of the channel now. Where this video is brought to you by Orange County CBD. Check them out on all social medias. They're working with Josh Taylor. And we're helping them do a little bit of promotion. So, guys, check them out. They're doing great things and they offer some really good products and services. Without talking any more, guys, let's break this one down a little bit. So, I mean, let's just do it in reverse and completely throw Ben out because I know he likes an order. Let's start off with Terry Harper. I mean,
that's not even reverse. That's into the middle.
I'm messing you about, mate.
You've gone for the middle.
My head is in it.
He's still in shock.
Honestly, it's in an app. I thought after Harper, at least we'll have sort of a good Galahad performance, and I'm shocked. So, Ray, we'll start with you to break down Terry Harper for me.
I wasn't shocked at all. I was expecting a good win from Alycia Baumgardener. I knew she would be very, very quick, very powerful. She fought up at a higher weight. I think you can fall into the trap, especially when you get the Americans coming over or other fighters coming over and fighting on our shows. It's all who they fought. You look on the record, you don't recognize any names. You fall into those traps of thinking that they're no good. As soon as the first bell sounded, the first second, you could tell from her stance she was confident. You could tell how quick her jab was, shooting out. You could tell she just wanted the center of the ring from her stance, and Terry didn't look confident on the ring walk into the ring. Terry didn't look settled. Terry couldn't get in any rhythm. Every time Alycia landed clean on Terry, she felt it. She always reset Terry at every opportunity, and she broke Terry's heart. And then, to be fair, that could have been a very, very serious, catastrophic ending for Terry Harper. The referee jumped in and did a cracking job. Well, since the Howard Foster incident with George Groves and Carl Froch, we've been too quick, I think, sometimes to criticise referees, but that referee deserves all the praise.
No, I definitely agree with you there, Ray. I mean, even though Terry Harper went out on her feet, for those who didn't see it, it was still quite a nasty stoppage, wasn't it? And yeah, we've got to absolutely commend the work of the referee and, the British Boxing Board, because obviously, there's work goes into this behind the scenes. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear you say you thought obviously Baumgardener would get the win, Ray, because I'll be honest, on this channel, I mean, Ben, you were with me, weren't you? We thought, Baumgartner, you look at her record, we thought she might be durable. She gave Terry Harper some valuable rounds after 12 months off and a couple of hand surgeries. But I'll be honest, I backed Harper for a sort of a decent points win, possibly even a late stoppage, didn't we, Ben?
We did, but the porridge wasn't right, as we said. And I just think that with Harper, I thought it would be a tough fight, but I thought she'd come through it, she'd get the rounds in. But I think it's inactivity for her. Like, when you look at Harper's record, the longest she's gone without a fight is 6 months, and that's twice. And she fights sometimes 4 times a year, and it's like on average, I think you're looking at 3 to 4 months out the ring. I think these 12 months, they've hurt her. But then Baumgardener, she put on a performance, and she went to do the job, and she looked deadly. And tell you what, did you see the guns on her? I bet those shots hurt. I must admit those guns. But, like you said, Ray, the ref, the fantastic job. I think it was a nasty knockout, but that next shot that she was looking for, it could have seriously hurt Harper because there was no defence. And she probably cranked it back, and the ref just stood directly in the way, did not let that shot go in. I think the performance of the night for the ref. But yeah, I think it's a shame. But I wonder if Tony Bay said at the end he doesn't think she'll want the rematch. He says that he doesn't think she's going to want to get back in the ring with her. But what do you guys think on that?
It's because she took a beating, and there was no. You could argue Josh Warrington.
Just that time.
Yeah, you could argue with Josh. But the thing with Josh Warrington is Josh Warrington had some elements of success early on in the first round. Terry Harper had none such luck. She had no success whatsoever, and it didn't help that Alycia was by the bigger fighter. She was coming down from 140. She just looked too big, too strong. And I know Eddie Hearn in hindsight, because it's a wonderful thing, hindsight, especially when you have these post-fight interviews saying, I wouldn't have taken that fight, but Steffi Bull and Terry insisted on having a fight. It's dead easy to say that. You know, as a promoter, why can't you not insist on an easier fight? Because 12-month layoff, for some fighters, it could be long, but for some fighters, it might not be so long. For example, Bivol, he came back and fought Craig Richards. Didn't he have like almost 2 years off?
It was a while,
yeah. And he coasted to a 12-round decision. But you can see why you would think Terry Harper would coast. And people would think she's the better boxer. They've seen a lot of her, and she can box really, really well. But I just thought Jonas was unlucky against Terry Harper. In my opinion, I had Natasha Jonas winning that fight, and that's because she put the pressure on. And Terry Harper seemed to be one of those fighters that doesn't like the pressure put on her. She seems to go into a shell, and I knew that's what this Baumgardener would do. Seen her a couple of times before, not in terrific fights, but that's what she seems to do. And she has got a bit of power about her, a bit of spite, and that seems to trouble Terry Harper. But I didn't envisage she would get her out of this so quickly. But yeah, hopefully Terry comes back.
No, I think Terry Harper will come back. She's got time. I think it's the next fight or two is crucial. I think I'd agree with Bellew. I wouldn't go for the rematch. I'll be honest. I'd go back to the drawing board and have a camp, have a medium level fight, try and put some confidence in because she's, as Ben said, she's so active. To then have 12 months out, I think she had 2 hand surgeries as well. Confidence wasn't going to be high going into it. True. And then what little confidence she did have has just been, let's be honest, just been shot to pieces. So we'll move it on slightly and we'll just flip the card up again for you, Ben. Chris Billam-Smith and Dylan Bregeon. Now, I don't think we can talk about this for too long because, for me personally, it wasn't the greatest fight in the world. But, Ben, break it down for me. Another win for Billam-Smith. How will he be feeling now and what's next for him, do you think?
Well, I saw an interview with Eddie Hearn IFL, and he wants to take him to Bournemouth, doesn't he, to headline a card. But he wants a Tommy McCarthy rematch. And I said this on our last video. I do think we should have got that. I think that should have been his next fight. And I think that his opponent today, he didn't come to fight. He just came for a bit of a war and grabbed him. And it was boring to watch, in my opinion. There wasn't any rounds that even stood out. And I just thought, you want somebody there to box, and then that can really, Billam-Smith can show his class. Because I did have him down as winning against McCarthy. And I think he's able to, when he can box, he's able to show his jab, use it more. But today, the opponent just kept getting that close. He couldn't do anything. It was just hugging and pushing. And I was really underwhelmed, but I don't think he could have done much more with who's in the ring with. So I think Bournemouth and Tommy McCarthy, that's not a bad next step at the start of the year. And then, like you said, Josh, maybe if Reactball wins next week, we see that rematch. He comes through that, you've got the world title shot.
Yeah, see, I'd love to see him in Bournemouth. I love it when you get, we get these new venues for shows. It's good, but the Tommy McCarthy, while the first fight was good, I don't know. There's just something, it doesn't really excite me. Ray, what would you like to see? What do you like to see, and what do you think we'll see?
I've got to agree with Ben in the sense that I do think the rematch, it's not necessarily the most exciting fight to see from that point of view, but it makes such good business sense. I can see why Ben's saying it. Because it was quite close, I could see why you would want that rematch, and I think it suits them. It suits both fighters as well, because they're not. He's in the same camp as Lawrence Okoli, so that fight isn't going to happen. But they're for me, they're a couple of levels, or if not a level below Lawrence Okoli. Yeah. So for me, they need to get more experience at this sort of European level, and there's not much between McCarthy and Billam-Smith. Riakpo is a very interesting one because Riakpo beat them both, as you guys have both pointed out. But for me, it's an interesting point what's just been said there by Ben. We need to see what Riakpo can do in his next fight. He looked okay in his last fight, but again, he came out after 2 years again out the ring. He still showed he's got his punch power, but he looked a bit rusty until that point. I like Riakpo. I think inactive Riakpo is the best out of the lot. I think Chris Billam-Smith, take your time with him because he's not at that level where Coley's at. His gym mate, so just take your time with him. McGuigan, his trainer, should get him a fight in Bournemouth, get the crowd behind him, headline a fight there, then go for the rematch with McCarthy, and then go for another defence of his European title, and then move on from there.
Would you both back him to beat McCarthy in the rematch again? Or personally, I think he'd do it more convincingly.
Yeah, I think he would. I think he would. I think McCarthy's limited, but there's not much that I would say out of the two. Billam-Smith's the better boxer. I just don't like Billam-Smith on the inside. I think he's horrible on the inside, and it's a weird one because they've had similar problems with Okoli in the past, and I believe that's why Okoli went to Shane McGuigan to improve his inside game. So you would think they'd be doing the similar work with Billam-Smith, but every time I see Billam-Smith and he gets somebody on the inside, he's just horrible. But when he keeps it long, he's good. He shows he's got a decent jab. He shows he can show a sharp backhand. He just needs to create more distance, and not smother his work, because that's what he does when he's on the inside.
No, I definitely agree. Go on, Ben.
I was going to say, I think also fighting in Bournemouth, I think when you're thinking, because obviously Billam-Smith's end goal is a world title shot, I think to headline a card in your hometown, that pressure, it's good to have. You're only going to learn from it, aren't you? And I think that it's never a bad thing to do that. I think at the moment, he's fought on these big stages, but I think it'll be good for him to be the main event and really learn what that's like. I think the experience will help him in the future.
No, definitely. And then, lastly, we'll come on to the main event tonight, and I am absolutely shocked. This, let's be honest, this was billed as a homecoming title defense. And Martinez at 35, I think I called him in our preview sort of an aging warrior, who I thought would be a game opponent, possibly carry a touch of danger early on, but I thought Galahad's class would sort of shine on. And all week on social media we've been talking about Lee Wood, Navarrete, and sort of, dare I say it, overlooking Martinez. And wow, what a mistake that is. I mean, Ray, talk me through the fight for those that haven't seen it.
It reminded me a little bit of the first Povetkin and White fight, in the sense that Galahad was doing what White was doing to Povetkin, just bullying him, just making his opponent look every day of his old age. And that's what happened. It got to the point where in the first round I thought, Kiko Martinez is shot. What's he doing in there? He was just quick. He was just sharp. He was accurate. He doesn't have a lot of power, Galahad. But because he was so accurate, the clean, you get hit clean, you get hit often. Those are the ones I hurt. And he was pushing him back. The interesting thing about Galahad, because he maintained that through round 2, round 3, round 4. I gave him all those 4 rounds. Kid Galahad is probably the least busiest and least aggressive fighter I've seen in a long time. He's a counter puncher, and he's known for throwing single shots. And I think that was his downfall in the Warrington fight. Had he upped the ante, thrown more punches, I would have been more confident giving him that fight. But instead, I gave the fight to Warrington. He was so aggressive. He was on the front foot. That was another reason for me thinking Kiko Martinez is had his day. I was kind of half thinking that going into this fight anyway. It was just like what you were just saying there, Josh. It was just almost a give me win for Kid Galahad. But out of nowhere, that knockdown happened. And when he was sitting in a corner, I thought, okay, he's getting his legs together. He's getting his wind. He'll be all right. He'll ride the storm for half of the round, in round 6, and then you'll come. You'll take a breather, and then you'll come on strong. But no, he was completely and utterly wiped out. A bit like White was by Povetkin in that first fight. I don't know how to describe it. I think looking back now, I'm wrong. he was obviously still hurt when he was sitting down in a corner. People say, oh, it's the weight, it's this, it's that. I just think he got caught. We've obviously underestimated that it's the last thing for a boxer to go is the punch power, and Kiko still retained his, and it was a devastating finish. It's going to be difficult to see where Galahad comes back, because people don't like his style and don't like giving him opportunities, so it's going to be very difficult to see where he comes back.
No, exactly. I mean, I was just about to say, obviously, you briefly mentioned the weight and stuff there. Obviously, there was a bit of drama yesterday at the weigh-in, wasn't there? And I mean, I'm just sat now, like you said, the first 4 rounds, I agreed. I know Ben agreed, but me and Ben were messaging sort of while the fight was going on. Yeah. And he looked a good quality performance. And that, I don't know, now I'm just thinking, is the weight a factor? You know, is he sort of depleting him a little bit too much, and then, you know, the punch resistance sort of goes with it? I mean, Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
First off, we need to take that preview down. We got it wrong. We got half the card wrong. We need to take that down. But I think I agree, Ray. First 4 rounds, I thought Galahad, he won them, but he didn't just win them. He was brilliant. He was swapping effortlessly from southpaw to orthodox. And I just thought to myself, he looked world class. He really did in those 4 rounds. And he even lose that left hand in the first round. And I thought he was going to get stopped in that first round. I honestly did. I thought if he just put that pressure on, then he goes to the corner and they tell him to kind of take his foot off the gas. Ingledict, it was like wearing down, which isn't a bad tactic. I think it should have worked, but ever since round 1, Martinez looked for that overhand right. Straight away, that's all he wanted. He very rarely put some combinations together. And he just wanted it. And I think that shock at the end of the round, you think, right, like Ray said, regroup, come back out. And even Ingle said, just watch for it. That is going to catch you straight. And he came out 6 seconds and he just stood there. He just let that overhand right come in, and it was just the white and perfecting, like Ray said. That was just perfect. It was exactly the same. And I just think when you get knocked out, you lost. Doesn't matter if you won every round. If you can knock your opponent out, you knock them out. And I just think, what a year for the featherweight division. So you've got Warrington, Lara, then even Lee Wood and Kanju. It's kind of like it has been a crazy year for them. But then you go about the weight. I have a bit of an issue with all this weight stuff. I know people go, the weight's an issue. They choose to fight at that weight. It's not an excuse. You choose to fight at it. You can't then use it as an excuse to why you lost. Callum Smith-Canella, you chose to fight at it. I'm sorry, but don't use that as an excuse. You obviously thought you could win that fight at that weight. End of.
Yeah, we established last week you actually just hate Callum Smith on the quiet.
But Callum Smith, I was a big fan of his. But, like, you chose to fight the weight. Don't use it as an excuse.
No, I agree. Go on, Ray. Go on. I'll let you take
I was just going to say, to be fair, he's got a point. I mean, you go back to Lee Selby. For the last 3 defenses for Lee Selby, he looked horrific on the scales. It looked like a skeleton was weighing in. But because he was winning his fight, he wanted to stay on at the weight. He loses to Josh Warrington, and then all of a sudden the weight's a problem. So I see where Ben's coming from. You should know during the camp the weight's going to be an issue. That's why you make the decision, I can't make the weight anymore.
No, I agree. I genuinely agree with you both, and I'm not just trying to do that thing that you get hosts on these channels and just play devil's advocate for the sake of it.
Yeah.
With Galahad, I sympathise a little bit because obviously he lost the Warrington fight. He'd had to be very patient to actually get that fight initially. Then obviously with the pandemic and everything else, he's sort of had, he's had periods of inactivity. It's been a bit stop-start. Obviously then at fight camp, all your dreams come true. You win that world title. I'll be honest, when he weighed in at a fight camp, I thought he doesn't look great at the weight, I've got to be honest. But obviously you won. You finally won a world title. You're going to go and defend it, aren't you? And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I do just have that little bit of sympathy there because it's got to be hard when you've put all your your whole life. And, there's a lot of talk about Kid Galahad sort of living the proper lifestyle as, the consummate professional. It's got to be hard to then sort of, do you know what? Even though there's a lot of fights at this weight, there's a lot of money to be made. I need to move on. So I do sympathise a little bit. But, I mean, just to finish off, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom have took a bit of stick recently, haven't they, for, rematch clauses and whatnot. After tonight, in reality, we may end up seeing two rematches. I don't want Terry Harper to take it, but I'll be honest, if Galahad, obviously we'll see what happens in the next week, I'd like to see the rematch of this. What would you guys think?
I don't know. I think I would, but at the same time, Galahad did talk about moving up already. And I think to yourself, if that's being used as an excuse, I know it hasn't by him, but already, just move up. There's no point taking that rematch. I think he'd win the rematch, I do, but just move up now and just fresh start. Let people underestimate you. You might get a bigger fight that way. And that's what I'd personally be doing.
Do you agree, Ray?
Yeah, I think if you're saying the weight was the main reason, then don't take the rematch. If the rematch comes to you at the higher weight, fair enough. But don't you can't have it both ways. It's either
Well, we have seen Kiko at super featherweight, haven't we? Obviously, he had that sort of controversial loss to Zelfa Barrett, so
very controversial,
yeah. So maybe that is something that we can see. So right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. As always, if you're still with us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for coming on, Ray.
Thanks for having me, lads.
No, we appreciate you coming on, and we'll get you on again soon. Ben, I've got nothing to say to you, really. So, we'll end it there.
Don't get to that preview down.
Yeah, I'll delete it now, mate.